Right, I'm going to shuffle these papers around because that story I don't want to especially start on. But so we're going to jump in here with the Irish Daily Mirror, and it's that story that Owen just mentioned a few moments ago here with James O'Donoghue. Don't mention James in any conversation about Kerry. He's out for the Munster final, obviously, with that hamstring injury picked up in the win against Clare. So devastating news for him. And the 4 changes for Kerry as well on that team. So we'll get you more of that in a little bit. Maggie Snatcher, Pep bids to steal Maguire from United. Manchester City poised to beat local rivals United to the £65 million capture of Harry Maguire, writes David MacDonald there. And United talk is distracting, says Wan-Bissaka. He was involved in the England under-21s, and Eddie Boothroyd, who's his manager, said it was distracting him from the job at hand.
I thought it was Wan-Bissaka who said that himself, who would definitely not say that. It's like, actually, it's distracting in the most beautiful way. Please get me to Manchester United. The Irish Times leads with review group's report on the FAI eagerly awaited. This is Emma Malone writing about the 11 a.m. announcement this morning about a proposed makeup of new board and council. They're supposed to be the key issues today. You've also got a picture there of Frankie Dettori after his incredible 4-timer yesterday at Royal Ascot. Harrington may not get a chance to defend her title. That's boxing news. She won a title in India last year, and she could be denied the chance to defend her world title as the world governing body of boxing lurches deeper into crisis. So it's a pretty grim story once again from amateur boxing at the moment, and we're starting to see a huge move away from amateur boxing at the moment. And Irish umpire Murphy on end of Kyrgios rant. We'll get to that in a moment because I think there's pictures in some of the other newspapers of what happened.
There's one here in the Irish Independent of that little bit of an interaction yesterday, so as Owen said, we'll give you more details on that shortly. That news on James O'Donoghue is Colm Keys and Frank Roach writing about that here as well. And Cross-Border League and Quinn Plan on the FAI radar. This is that report that Owen mentioned. It's 11 o'clock this morning, so we'll have more details across off the ball on that over the course of today.
The Irish Daily Mail this morning leads with Rory's return. Excited McIlroy in open dreams of home victory. So he says victory at next month's Open Championship will be the most special of his career. And abuse a rude awakening for Offaly's Carroll. So this is Brian Carroll speaking about the personal abuse directed at him over his role with Joaquin Kelly, I should say.
Joaquin.
Over reconsidering his future. He says that the abuse he got was not great. He says, I was the only one named. This is in relation to, according to Phil Flanagan, a public outburst from Daithí Regan on the eve of last Saturday's vital game against Kerry. I was the only one named, and it was being directed at me, almost in a personal attack. It is the timing of it which is most disappointing in the days before what was the biggest game of the hurling year from the Offaly perspective. That was coupled with online abuse and abuse coming in from the terraces. People will tell me that are longer in this game, that it's just par for the course. I've got a rude awakening, and it's something I wouldn't be too quick to get involved in again after seeing that side of things.
The Irish Examiner, meanwhile, it's a pencil of Rory McIlroy up here as well. This is going to be the 100% be my most special moment, says Rory there. The latest in his long list of most special moments. Fabulous Frankie is the main photograph, though in the Irish Examiner. Dettori's Gold Cup success completes a 449-1 4-timer at Royal Ascot.
Seems like in hindsight it would have been a fairly simple 449 to 1 to make.
Very straightforward.
Back page of the Irish Daily Star is Pep pips Ole. Maguire looks set to make City move. So this is Manchester City gazumping Manchester United, it seems, as Manchester City seem to be favourites to land the Leicester City star Harry Maguire in a €73 million bid. And a medical has been penciled in and a deal could take place in the next week, says this report. Of course, Manchester United tried to sign Harry Maguire last year after the World Cup and failed. You've also got Frank's Million, that's our headline around Frankie Dettori on the back of the Irish Daily Star, and Mark McAdam saying FAI braced for a report.
Daily Telegraph quickly. Andy Murray's winning return here. He's been back in action after that hip surgery and looks to be in decent shape. That's the Daily Telegraph this morning.
The Herald this morning says in second gear, gap between Dublin and the rest of Leinster is way too big, says Barry Cahill. And All-Ireland League and Quinn Plan on FAI radar. So a group proposing the establishment of an All-Ireland League and the consortium led by Niall Quinn have been invited to the FAI to speak at a forum to discuss the future of the League of Ireland. Noel Mooney is keen to hear them out.
The gap between Dublin and the rest of Leinster is too big.
You could have written that headline 5 years ago, I guess.
I mean, yeah.
He says it's a little bit demoralising. The gap is way too big. Dublin are beating these teams in second gear, and I can't see that changing for the foreseeable future.
Maybe it's good that former Dublin players are coming out saying it. Is that the thing?
Maybe, I don't know. It's like we noticed.
Sky turns black at night, sort of thing. The Times Ireland edition, high price of FAI does not back reforms, is the story that I mentioned a bit earlier on that report you had later this morning. English defy penalty rules, the Premier League on a collision course, writes Martin Ziegler here, with football's lawmakers over its plan that video assistant referees will not rule on the goalkeeper's position. This is one of the most controversial things about VAR, obviously, at penalties when the system's brought in next season. And Wan-Bissaka has lost focus, seems to be of interest to people.
The Racing Post goes with fantastic Frankie. The Tory said to Royal Ascot Light as Gold Cup victory on Stradivarius caps an awesome foursome.
Finally for me, the Sun, the Irish Daily Sun, Frank Lampard celebrating his birthday up there. Should I stay or should I go? Is the big one. And Jesse in a messy, Lingard faces rap over what's described here as an X-rated video.
The Guardian goes with Andy Murray back with a bang at Queen's, returning to tennis following his career-saving surgery, and he had a blast, blowing away Juan Sebastian Cabal and Robert Farah alongside his doubles partner Feliciano Lopez. And phenomenon, the Tory party kicks off with a four-timer, suggesting yesterday that they should erect another statue in his honour. Jokingly.
Right, there's a few stories I wanted to get into. A couple for me. One, this Nick Kyrgios story that you'd mentioned, and the photograph there tells 1,000 words. It's on the back page of the Irish Independent. This is the Australian tennis player, number 39 in the world. There was a tournament yesterday, the Roberto Cabrera's Baena at Queen's Club, and he lashed out at Irish umpire, as the back page headline has it here, but there's some more details inside, and I'll read you some of the quotes here. A bit of an over and back between Kyrgios and his opponent before the over and back with the umpire, Fergus Murphy. But anyway, there was a bit of a dispute about where the ball had landed, and Kyrgios says, bro, you're taking the effing piss, mate, said the 24-year-old who won the match 7-6, 6-3. The ball was this far out, no joke, no joke. What are you doing? It's so far long. What are you doing? Like, what are you actually doing up there? It was this far out, bro. It's taking the piss. I refuse to play. This is the point where he's kind of, you know, that, listen, I've said all I can say, and, you know, you're not taking me seriously, and so I'm just going to sort of jack this entire thing in. It couldn't have been further out. What are you doing? Jesus, was that not out at the second serve? It's a joke, man. It's a serious joke. And on another point, after another point, Kyrgios added, the ball was this far out at the second serve. I'm not going to give 100% when I've got linesmen rigging the game. I don't want to play.
He sounds like you during a crappy quiz.
There's literally nothing more serious you could say to a sporting official than you're rigging the game. But he was hit with some sort of a violation that gives him a rap across the knuckles, and ultimately everybody goes on with life. But yeah, he was obviously having issues yesterday. He spoke as well. He was giving himself a lot of self-talk, as tennis players frequently tend to do. But he says to himself, so lazy, do something, so lazy you are. You were playing FIFA until 3 a.m. What do you expect? So a bit of context there for Fergus Murphy to, you know.
Did you read out the quote about Fergus Murphy's hat?
No, I don't see that one in this.
Why are you even reading a hat? The sun isn't even shining, I think he said to him. Which I thought was pretty funny. Like, it's a complex issue. I mean, Nick Kyrgios has obviously come out in the past and said he's had to try and deal with this sort of stuff, see a professional about his anger management, and he don't know what the anger comes from, what he's actually dealing with himself. He's obviously a very, very complicated individual. At the start, I was like, this guy's obviously a bit of a dick. Now I'm like, there's obviously a lot more to this.
It's a proper meltdown. That wasn't like a sort of, it didn't feel like any kind of a controlled dispute with the umpire. That's not what that was.
No.
It was something very different. And like, obviously it's not a tournament, it seems, it doesn't have Hawkeye. That could have obviously ruled and something like that, but it's the sort of call that you assume in tennis. Now he's saying, I haven't seen the point, so he's saying obviously it was miles out. But I'm sure that sort of call happens in tennis all the time, right? Like that's, and also he went on and win the game 2 sets. Like this was not sort of a moment where Nick Kyrgios was about to get dumped out of the tournament.
No, like it is, like when I said at the start, I mean, I meant at the start of Nick Kyrgios' career when he first kind of burst onto the scene, is clearly this colourful character, if you can put it like that. And it's just weird that he can go from somebody who's so vehemently opposed to an umpire's view quite often to somebody who like tanks a game or tanks a set.
Yeah.
And it's like the highs and the lows of that and the spectrum that comes with that. And it's a complicated case study. You'd wonder like how he's feeling this morning. And I'd certainly be hesitant to kind of jump on the bandwagon of bashing Nick Kyrgios immediately, despite the fact that he obviously will be punished for this rightfully. Saying that an umpire is actually rigging a game is a very serious thing to say. But ultimately it's like I think you kind of need to kind of think about what's actually going on in his head at the moment and stuff like that. So it's somebody, he's clearly, I don't want to say, his talent was revered, I think, in Australia, it's fair to say, over the last decade. Has he reached his potential? He probably hasn't. He definitely hasn't.
I was surprised to see that he was number 39 when I looked at it earlier on.
Surprised as in high surprised or low surprised?
Low.
Yeah, and I guess maybe his public outbursts make him a bit more famous in the OTB given his actual performances, but it's something that he's obviously tried to address, as I've mentioned. He's obviously tried to get this right over the last couple of years. You just hope that whoever's speaking to him is actually trying to find out what is going on in his head, and he can perhaps channel this into positive performances, because ultimately, as I say, this leading to tanking of games and tanking of sets is actually a really, really sad decline, and it's a sad endpoint of all of this, that the anger is almost more understandable.
Rory McIlroy is quoted fairly widely across a lot of the newspapers as well this morning, including the brilliant picture of the cliffs of Fairhead in County Antrim. Did you see this yesterday? This was, they've made Mount Rushmore into it. They've included McIlroy, they've included Darren Clark, Graham McDowell and Fred Daly is the other one, and it's class. It looks real. Yeah,
I wonder how long it took them to chisel that. People like hanging off the
Somebody
in
the off-the-ball office got done yesterday.
Enda got done yesterday.
I wasn't going to name him on.
He couldn't believe it when he saw the real cliffs being etched into four famous heads.
It would be a really good idea. I mean, it would be costly, I would imagine, but it would be a really good idea to do, wouldn't it? I mean, it might not be those four.
I'm not sure would I trust Irish people to actually mould a good sculpture into a cliff, to be honest with you.
And
I mean, there's been some absolute horrendous wax models made in this. Like the Conor McGregor one was terrible. The Daenerys Targaryen one wasn't great. I'd imagine if that was real,
you could end up with a Ronaldo statue, is what you're saying. You could end
exactly. Now, I don't think anything we produced here from professionals has been as bad as a Ronaldo statue, and I would never try and do it myself. But it's a high-risk game.
We'll all take some sucker from that.
If you're hanging by ropes on the edge of Northern Ireland with a chisel in your hand, chances are you're not going to be able to make Rory McIlroy's face look lifelike. But the Photoshop jobs did it.
They could probably do it now, like the way they can print out stuff 3D these days. You could probably just lash a machine onto it and away you go. Like, it'd be a brilliant tourist attraction. Imagine Mount Mullingar with the five legends of Westmeath on it.
What is it again? Paddy O'Shea, John Aldridge, Robbie Henshaw, and Desi Dolan, is it?
Is Niall Horan on there somewhere?
Niall Horan.
It's
a vicious fight for that fourth spot between Niall Horan and Desi Dolan. I'm not sure who'd win in that.
And Paddy's nailed on anyway, we know that.
Yeah, but look, the Rory quotes yesterday about this being 100% the most special thing ever is everything not the 100. Maybe that's actually just how psychologically he gets himself up for a tournament.
Do you know what? Like, I'm not like a Rory basher. I think that he's entitled to say what the hell he wants to say generally, and do what the hell he wants to do generally, and like, more luck to him. It's his career. I'd say at the end of his career, he's the sort of fellow who'll say, geez, if I'd knuckled down a bit more and focused a bit more on the golf and been obsessed by it in a way that maybe some other players have been, I probably could have won more, and I definitely could have won more majors and all that sort of stuff. Right, for sure. So I'm not really typically into a bit of Rory bashing, but it, like, when I saw the quotes this morning, something would 100% be my most special. It's like, if I've read that quote once from Rory McIlroy, I've read it 100 times. It's, why does he put himself under this much pressure that I actually, in the context of what I've just said, I don't actually believe that I think he just gives these quotes. I'm not 100% sure that he even believes what he's saying. It's the Olympic stuff in another sort of guise. It's
well, if he doesn't believe what he's saying, how is he putting himself under pressure?
I haven't tried to hide from the fact that I'm playing a major championship basically at home. But like, what'll happen is people will jump on that, and it'll become the biggest narrative in the lead into that tournament, which will be a total distraction for him and something he definitely doesn't need. And he could have just as easily said, listen, it's brilliant to be at home, I'll have loads of family and friends around, I'm really just going to go there and enjoy it. I really want to win the thing, of course I do. But like, the idea that it's something would 100% be my most special. You'll be reading this again in a couple of weeks' time about something else.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if I'd agree with that, to be honest with you. I think he can say that about the Masters because he's had a very famous failing relationship with the Masters, and that would 100% be his most special tournament. But a major championship, being in your own country, is a pretty special thing. I'm buying this. I'm buying that it would 100% be his most special to date. He hasn't won the Masters.
I would have too if I hadn't read it like 100 times before.
Has he said it would 100% be the most special thing in my career and any other thing other than the Masters? I don't think he actually has. And also, I don't think he's putting himself under that pressure, or if he is, he's he's a grown man at this stage. He's not a young boy anymore.
Exactly.
Like he knows exactly how this stuff works. That you say something, it gets printed. Also, he's fairly well insulated. It's not like he's picking up like newspapers this morning, thinking, right, how is my quote construed? Oh God, no, they put the 100% special thing into the headline. That's not how it works for Rory McIlroy. He's insulated from it.
I don't know. I'd say you'd be surprised. I mean, is he picking up the Irish Examiner? Is he picking up any of the Irish newspapers? Probably not. But like that's all over the internet. Now, he knows when he says that. He knows for sure.
I think you're making a way bigger deal out of this.
What he's saying is going to get attention. He knows that. Like, obviously, it's great for Portrush and it's great for da-da-da-da.
Saying it's 100% going to be the most special thing for me is not exactly saying, I would love it. I would love it if we beat them. Like, it's not exactly the most earth-crushing
I just think
quote.
it's tiresome that it's, like, the constant... This is going to be the best thing and the biggest thing. Like, it's just another thing. And, like, of course you want to go and win it. And I get the reason why it would be special. It is, like, ultimately a home major for him. Like, I get all of that.
This will be the most special moment of his
career. If I
career.
hadn't read it 100 times before, that would be... Well, I mean, apart from the Olympics and, you know...
But no, he's right. This would 100% be the most special moment of his career.
So
winning a major in his own country, it would be incredible. So he's right. So I don't see the issue with this.
Yeah, if I hadn't read it 100 times before, I'd be all over it.
I like. We'll get this up for next week. Google 100% special. 100% most special.
It might not be that
moment.
exact phrase, but it's the best thing, the biggest thing, the most amazing thing. It's, you know.
And like, what's the evidence to suggest that it's actually the pressure that's letting Rory McIlroy down? Maybe he's actually thinking to himself, I actually need to put myself under a bit more pressure. Maybe he's thinking this is actually how I cheat myself up.
Saying it. That would actually make some sense.
Like, I'm not sure this is a negative thing. Now, granted, there's been evidence in the past of perhaps pressure cracking him and stuff. This season, he's been relatively consistent from what we've seen over the last couple of years. So I don't know. I think he's more. I think if I'm Rory McIlroy's media manager and I'm looking at that this morning, I'm like, fair enough, good quote. Also, great for the tournament.
Yeah, but
great for
I mean, also to suggest that Rory McIlroy has a media manager, or if he has, that's something that Rory McIlroy gives two shits about, because the evidence is there that.
Well, we're having a conversation about how he deals with the media, and
but he deals with the media how Rory McIlroy wants to deal with the media. He's not somebody who, like, the evidence is everywhere of somebody who clearly doesn't have anybody saying to him, Rory, will you just not say that today?
Okay, he's media analyst then. He's not managing it. Like, this hypothetical role that I've created for Rory McIlroy, somebody in his team would be like, fair enough, good quote. There's nothing wrong with what Rory McIlroy said. Fair play to him. He's right. He likes to put himself under that pressure, is my suspicion, and he likes to kind of big things up, and good on him, and good luck to him.
You're a generous man, Owen.
I'm not, like, I think I mentioned Nick Kyrgios being a bit of a dick at the start. I think you're being a bit of a dick towards Rory McIlroy this morning. Pick something else. Pick the Olympics or something to use as a stick to beat Rory McIlroy.
But I did start it out by saying that actually I'm not the one who generally is Rory McIlroy basher. What have you got for us?
Should we talk Jesse Lingard?
Do we have to?
Like, I mean, this story is hilarious. We can also talk about Frank Lampard as well, 'cause we got a video in a moment of Frank Lampard's, I think it's his wife, really trolling him. But it's not really so much Jesse Lingard, it's more the reaction to this. So, as we brought to you a moment ago, the back of the Sun is Jesse and a Messi. Lingard faces rap over X-rated video. X-rated video being...
It is not an X-rated video.
The operative word. Like, for anybody who's missed this, we're not going to play it because it's a bit annoying.
It's naive.
I find Jesse Lingard quite annoying, but I don't actually agree with the insane level of discourse that goes around Jesse Lingard. Jesse Lingard has not had a good season for Manchester United, and I think that affects how a lot of people view him. He annoys people and he rubs people up the wrong way. I get a little bit annoyed by him as well, but I don't necessarily have this sort of view in it that, say, Ian Holloway would have. He described the video as unacceptable. What would Ian Holloway do if he had Jesse Lingard as one of his players? I'd transfer list him. This manager and his staff have got to sort this out. For me, there is no way back, Rangers legend Ali McCoy said at it. Young people look for role models. That isn't a role model. And then, they didn't name this person on Twitter, The Sun, but they said, among many critics on Twitter, one said, that is an embarrassment to himself and the club. He's got a messy room. I saw Alan Brazil on TalkSport refer to it like a bomb hit it, as this would be no example to any kids. And there is one scene where he does walk into a bedroom and one of his mates is simulating sex with a pillow, which was done for comedic effect. And that's probably as bad as it gets if you want to transfer list your player, if you want to transfer list Lingard. But like, this is just part of a sort of narrative around Jesse Lingard. Is like, this guy's pretty annoying. Anything he does is going to tip me over the edge, and he should leave the club immediately due to a kind of a stupid video online when he's on his holidays. It's really odd. It's this fascination with Lingard. I am fascinated with the reaction to Lingard.
I listened to Ali McCoy talking about it this morning. He was like, "This is now." I don't want to get into it, like, sort of, here's what one analyst said, and it's an outrageous thing, but it actually feels, I'm only mentioning it because it feels kind of typical of the general narrative around what's going on with this thing. But, like, Ali McCoy saying, well, it's outrageous. Look at the state of his room. What sort of example is this guy to 10 or 11-year-old boys? Like, what an outrageous thing to level at Jesse Lingard, that he's made this video that is in awful taste because he hasn't managed to tidy his room before shooting the video. Like, it's I don't know. There have been unbelievable levels of guffer on this entire thing.
There has been. I think we can go to the Frank Lampard videos, because Frank Lampard obviously celebrating his birthday yesterday in Saint-Tropez. Saint-Tropez, of course, is where Roman Abramovich drove up to in his yacht, supposedly having talks with Frank Lampard. And there has been kind of a situation over whether or not Lampard will stay at Derby County, will he go to Chelsea? And suitably, on his wife's Instagram story yesterday, Frank Lampard was suitably trolled. So you can hear the chords of "Should I Stay or Should I Go" there in the first video, which I think is kind of exactly representative of where Lampard is at. I'm not sure did he actually get on that yacht with Abramovich afterwards yesterday. Has that conversation happened? But Frank Lampard and the focus on his trip to Saint-Tropez has been right up there with Jesse Lingard in his hotel room as one of the best kind of silly season stories this summer.
Who are those lads?
I have no idea.
Were they like staff, or were they?
I have no idea. Were they staff, or were they mates? Were they brothers? Were they family? Like, who could they be? I have no idea. Maybe they just saw Frank Lampard and they're like, it's his birthday. We're gonna give him a cake just because he's randomly sitting outside in the restaurant.
Somebody Wikipedia him and went, oh wow, it's actually his birthday today.
I think it was well publicised in the papers yesterday that it was his birthday, because that's where he was spending it, and it was a handy headline. Roman Abramovich gives Frank Lampard a birthday present. You can become manager of Chelsea Football Club.
I watched some of Piers Morgan Meets Harry last night. You seen this?
No.
You know the Piers Morgan Meets series? So he had Harry Redknapp on, and at one point or another it flashes to one of the Redknapp sons, who is, like, if you blink for a second you're like, oh, there's Jamie, but actually it's like an older, slightly more less clean living Jamie Redknapp. It's like, but unmistakably a Redknapp. But anyway, Harry just obviously is, he's like just like excellent company.
Oh, he is. And
it comes off like that, like it's,
Is he going to take the credit for the creation of Frank Lampard as a managerial genius, I wonder? Harry Redknapp will just seed out that video from an anonymous Twitter account of him sticking up for Frank Lampard in that board meeting at West Ham, defending the kid that will become a superstar. And he says to himself, actually, not only would he become a playing superstar.
What was the guy's name that was in the team ahead, that the supporter was like, oh. Anyway.
That's proper YouTube knowledge right there that I don't have at the tip of my tongue, but maybe he's learned from the best. Like, the Frank Lampard sort of identity, does it get more or less impressed on something when you're manager of Chelsea as opposed to Derby County? Because I guess with Derby County there is a very clear path to where you need to go. It's like, you've got to get promotion, you've got to be aiming for the top of the table, you have to just get results and results only. And also, I would say he kind of viewed that as very much a stepping stone, which it is. With Chelsea, I wonder, is it actually more of an opportunity for him to put the Frank Lampard stamp on a team, whatever that may be? Yeah. Got a bit more money to spend, you can actually go and craft a squad, especially, I know it's not usual for Chelsea, if you get a bit of time to actually to stick with the squad. I'm very, very excited for this. If I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be really excited for the introduction of Frank Lampard as manager of the team, because A, you're getting a club legend back, and B, you think about what's actually changed in football over the last couple of years, and one of the most significant things from a Chelsea perspective is that Roman Abramovich just doesn't have the financial wielding power that he used to have.
No, it's mad, isn't it?
That his influence has lessened a small bit. So maybe this new model might be loyalty, might actually be give Frank Lampard a bit of time. It's no disaster if we finish outside the top 4. Keep ourselves in the top 6 for a while. Doesn't matter though, we're playing Champions League football this year anyway. If you can get inside the top 4, let's stick by Frank Lampard. Let's not chase Premier League trophies. Manchester City and Liverpool are still a bit away from the pack. This is the person we can get behind and move forward, because you look at the disaster that Manchester United have made behind the scenes recently. I wonder, did Chelsea just say to themselves, right, let's get this right and let's go for the Premier League title in, say, 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's just a dose of pragmatism, as you say, that Abramovich didn't have had to have before, and now suddenly it's like, oh, these guys have got way more money than I do, and I just have to take my ticket and queue up. So we'll follow that with interest over the next while, and as to whether Frank Lampard's going to be announced new Chelsea manager as well, we will bring you all that as we get it. It's an interesting day in sports as well. I forgot to mention at the very top that Fernando Torres has announced his retirement as well at the age of 56. Certainly was what I thought he was earlier, but turns out he's only 35. Had obviously slipped off the radar over the last 12 months, but at the age of 35.
Why do you not go to China?
He went to Japan.
Was it Japan?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, why do you not stay there? And like
yeah, maybe he's just crap.
Wasn't there like a bigger offer coming from China or something that kind of fell through at the time? The Japan thing always kind of seemed a bit strange, but maybe. I will admit my knowledge of the financial power of Japanese clubs isn't what it once was.
Yeah.
So I just think 35, it's like you could easily ride into the sunset for another 2 years and make tons more money.